Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into how artificial intelligence is changing, well, everything, especially our fundamental rights to fairness, privacy, and even our freedom of speech.
Think about it. From the job you apply for, the loan you need, to the news you see, AI systems are making incredibly powerful choices that affect all of us, every single day, often completely behind the scene.
But how do these incredibly complex systems actually work? And as they get more and more powerful, what does that mean for core principles like our right to be treated fairly, our right to privacy, and our freedom to express ourselves?
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the big picture of AI and our rights. Then we'll zoom in on the huge issues of fairness and privacy. After that, we'll tackle the really thorny subject of censorship, and finally, look at how we might actually govern this stuff for a better future.
Okay, let's dive right into that central conflict. Because at its heart, AI is a classic double-edged sword. It offers up these incredible opportunities, but at the same time, it carries some really serious risks for our civil rights.
On the one hand, you've got this amazing potential, right? Streamlining healthcare, making public services better, even having AI take over dangerous jobs for us. But on the other hand, those exact same tools can supercharge some of society's worst habits, locking in discrimination or creating tools for mass surveillance.
Let's really dig into that risk of discrimination, because it's one of the most direct ways our right to simple fairness is being challenged by these automated systems.
The big problem here is something called algorithmic bias, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when an AI, which learns from huge piles of data from our own history, ends up just learning, repeating, and even amplifying the human biases that were already there.
And this isn't just a theory. Look at the justice system. Studies on a risk assessment tool called Compass found a pretty clear racial bias. The algorithm was way more likely to flag black defendants as likely to reoffend, which just reinforces existing systemic problems.
So this is the really crucial point. These aren't just, abstract, nerdy tech problems. They have huge, real-world consequences that can determine whether someone gets a house, a job, or can even affect their personal freedom. This bias isn't just one single glitch. It can sneak in at so many different points. It could come from the data itself reflecting an unfair past, or maybe the data just doesn't include everybody. It can even be introduced by the people who label the data, or amplified when we humans only trust the AI's answers that match what we already believe.
And these questions of fairness are totally tangled up with another fundamental right that's really feeling the pressure in the age of AI, our privacy. And people are getting worried. A recent report from the IAP shows a clear majority. We're talking 57% of people around the world believe AI is a significant threat to their personal privacy.
Now, there is this idea designed to give us some control back. It's called the right to be forgotten. It's a legal principle, really big in Europe, that lets you demand your personal data get deleted. But generative AI makes that right incredibly hard to actually use. And here's why. These massive AI systems are trained by basically vacuuming up the internet. Our photos, our writing, our art, and all of that information gets woven into the AI's very logic. So once your data is baked into the model, how can you ever really make it forgotten?
The ACLU puts this so well. It's just a simple, powerful idea. Knowledge about you is power over you. So when we talk about losing our privacy, what we're really talking about is losing control over our own story. Okay, so this brings us to a really contentious issue. What happens when artificial intelligence, our right to free speech, and the government all get mixed up together?
One side of this argument, which was laid out in a recent U.S. congressional report, claims that the government is using its influence over the development of AI to essentially control what we see and say online, pressuring private companies to censor views it doesn't like.
This report points directly at federal programs like the AI Bill of Rights and the new AI Safety Institute. It argues they aren't just helpful suggestions. Instead, the claim is they're coercive tools that use really vague terms like misinformation to push companies into censoring certain viewpoints.
So, with all these incredibly complicated risks to our civil rights, what on earth do we do? How do we steer AI in a direction that actually respects our basic freedoms?
Well, there's no easy button for this.
This roadmap from a Council of Europe report does a great job of showing just how complex the choices are. Do we just try to update our old laws for a new era? Or do we need to invent entirely new legal frameworks just for AI?
The debate usually boils down to two big approaches. You've got hard law, think legally binding rules like treaties with actual penalties. And then there's soft law, which is more about flexible, voluntary guidelines and best practices that companies agree to follow.
But what if we flipped the script and got ahead of the problem? There's an approach proposed by the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights that argues we should build civil rights into every single step of making AI, from the very first idea to designing it, all the way to rolling it out and keeping an eye on it.
And really, that's what it all comes down to. AI isn't some far-off future thing, it's here now. So the most important question isn't just what the rules for it should be, it's who gets to write them. Should it be governments? The giant tech companies building this stuff? Or should it be a much bigger conversation, one that includes all of us, the people whose lives are being reshaped by this technology every single day? That's the real challenge ahead.